Everyone online says you need to scale with a course. And I say, sell the damn service. I'm Emily Williams, award-winning consultant and productized offer expert since 2014. And I'm here to help you work less, make more, and stop custom building your burnout. Each week, we talk strategy, structure, and the real stories behind sustainable service businesses. You know, from service providers who like doing service work, who want to stay in service work, but also just make more money. If you're ready for all that yapping, then let's dive in. I have a friend who they live on, not for Halloween, but for Christmas, they live on this like cul-de-sac that is known in and around this area as Candy Cane Lane.
Yeah, every
And
city has one.
they just all decorate and they go all out, and it's just bumper to bumper cars, like just in and out of their cul-de-sac. And I'm like, there's only one way in and out of your house, and it's through that line. Like,
I would
do you
move.
just not leave in December? Like,
I would move. I would just be like, "What? We do what here? I'm sorry.
we do what?
This is not
Yeah,
introvert
yeah.
friendly. I'm out."
Nope, I'm out. Luckily, it's very fitting for their personality and they go all out, but I'm just like, yeah, no, it's not for me.
I
Thanks.
feel like that should be noted, like in the real estate listing. Like if
And
you're
I
not
think I
aware,
do think that it was because
okay,
I mean it's a very well-known neighborhood, and I should ask her if they knew before they bought it, but it was like the week they were moving in, like they were still in their apartment, moving in, they weren't even going to be there full time, and they moved in like late November. And so a neighbor came by and was like, "Hey, here's the deal with this street. Because you just moved in, like, we're all happy to give you like leftover decorations and
oh
help
my
you
god,
decorate, but like you have to decorate. It's not an option." And they're like, "Okay, yeah, we'll take what you have because we won't even be here. Like, we're still going to be in our apartment." So their first year there, it was just all neighbors like decorating their house for them. Yeah,
no, that sounds like too much pressure.
not for me. Nope,
Nope,
nope.
no, not even a little bit.
Well, I am so excited to have you on because, like we were talking about before we hit record, you and your threads and my threads, our post on threads, I think can go side by side in the museum of we love service providers and we're calling out all the bullshit in this industry. And I love you for it. And you wrote the book on it. And it is my absolute favorite thing to talk about. It's why this show exists. And it's why, like, every single time I have a guest on, I'm very, very, very picky about them making sure that they're actively serving clients in a one-on-one capacity.
Yeah,
Because if you're not, then I don't believe you should be giving your opinion in this space. And I think that you and I are in alignment with a lot of the ways that this industry is shaping out. But I would love to hear, it's very rare that I get to talk to someone who's been in the industry for a while. And what year did you come onto the scene? When did you start?
oh, well, I started my business in the year 2005.
Yes.
So I've been at
Yes.
this a while, but like I kind of fell into the online world around 2012. And I
Okay.
was like, of course, in the beginning, very enamored, very excited. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. This isn't quite what it seems to be.
Yes. Yes. And it was even a entirely different landscape then. So
Yes.
I came on around the same time. I started my service business in 2011, 2012, and then came into the online space about 2015, 2016. And so really similar kind of time frames. What was your first business? How did you get started with clients, or what were you selling?
Yeah. So I left my agency job when I had my son and literally I was working at a PR agency, started doing PR. And that's when content marketing really started becoming a thing.
Yeah.
So I really fell into doing content marketing. And, I was the person in 2007 setting up people's first corporate blogs. I was their
Yes.
blog manager, like doing all of that. And then over time, I still have an agency. We still do some content marketing for corporate clients. But the thing people kept saying, I don't understand how you're running your business. Like all my
Mm.
friends, I don't understand
Yeah.
how are you making this money with services? And I tried different things along the way. I was like, oh, I'll do courses, I'll do this. And then I was like, no, but services, this is actually where I make all my money. and it's
Yeah.
way easier. So, like, why am I distracting myself with all of this? And
Yeah.
so around 2016, I was just like, yeah, I am a service provider and I'm going to talk to other service providers about this because passive income is not passive. All these, all these things that all their coaches are telling them to do at the time were
Yeah.
just complete and utter bullshit.
Yeah.
And I
Did
was not, I'll be honest, I was not very popular at the time. A lot of people are like, no, no. I'm like, I'll see you in 2 years when you figure this out. Come on back
Yep.
then.
Yep, yep, and I do feel like the onus on that has changed slightly where because I did the digital product route. I feel like that is why I'm also able to have such a strong stance about services
Yes.
because I did it and I was successful at it. I I
Yeah.
I think that oftentimes people kind of, like, bitch about things when, like, they barely tried it or, like, it didn't work for them or whatever, and I'm a huge advocate for, like, if you tried it and it worked and it still wasn't alignment with how you really wanna run
Exactly.
your business, how you really wanna scale, then you really have a platform to talk about it. So,
Exactly.
when how did your course perform? Did you end up kind of doing what all of us do when we're service providers and create a course and all of a sudden it's for an entirely different audience?
You know what? It actually performed really, really well. And like, I launched it twice, 3 times, 2 or 3 times. And I was like, you know what? I don't like this. I'm used to
Yeah,
being way more hands on.
yeah.
The amount of effort and marketing it would take. And I was like, and I was keeping track. This is the interesting thing. I was keeping track during that time frame of the contracts I was not taking as a service provider. And once I
Because
started
of the
seeing,
course?
yeah, because I was so busy dealing with the course, marketing the course, recording all my modules for my course, doing all the things I was supposed to do. And I was like, I remember sitting down at the end of the year and I was like, oh my gosh, I just declined so much money.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
I mean, I literally started my career in services. I don't know any other way. Why am I fighting against this? And I remember one of my good friends was like, you're so good at services. Like, you are make really great money. It's easy for
Mhm,
you. Why are you doing this to yourself? And I was
mhm.
like, I don't know. Why am I doing this to myself? So I've always kept my agency as a result because the online world goes up and down all the time.
Yeah,
You know what? That corporate money is nice and steady. I don't need to worry
mhm,
about it.
mhm. Do you feel like you started the course because that's what sounded sexy, it sounded fun, it sounded different?
It's because that's what my coach told me I had to do next.
Oh,
She
to
literally
scale.
was my coach at the time. Yes, to scale. She was like, "Oh, you can't make any more money as a service provider." And I was like, "Okay." And we all know now that's bullshit.
That's
Nobody
not
wants to talk
true.
about that so much. But at the end
Mhm.
of the day, I was like, "Okay, well, this is the natural next step." She knows more than I do. She's seasoned. And I did it and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is not for me."
Yep. I literally wrote a post this morning that's gonna go live on my Substack tomorrow. By the time y'all are listening to this, it's definitely already out and live, where I just have a blatant black and white, these are the pros and cons for the various ways that a service provider can scale. Because and I guess, like, literally even saying this out loud, one of the options that I listed was going ahead and doing a digital offer. I don't believe that that is a viable option to scale just because it could work. I don't it's starting another business.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it is not scaling your service business, it is starting another business. It
Yeah.
could scale your revenue overall. It's also going to scale your expenses. It's also
Yes.
going to scale your team and your software and your customer service and your tech stack and literally everything else. It could scale your revenue, but it's not scaling your revenue in your service business. And so if the desire for growth in that business, that is not one of the options. But I did break down the concept of hiring both like internally, so just getting
Mhm.
admin off your plate or kind of tech support or whatever you might need, and how that might increase your capacity a tiny bit, but it's mostly just going to increase your expenses.
Yeah.
And then the agency route of either bringing in in-house talent or delegating outsource. So which route did you go when you were creating your agency? Did you bring people
Yeah.
in-house?
Yeah. We have like
Nice.
actual employees and like we've downsized over the years because I formerly had a business partner and then like, I extricated part of the business when that happened. I was like, oh, we don't need to do those services anymore. But yeah, we like full-time in-house team. And, we're always balancing the 2 businesses, and I mean, eventually,
Yeah.
will I wrap up the agency because 'cause I'm tired of the corporate world? Absolutely, I'm getting too old
Yeah.
for this shit. But, I mean, that I just have such a firm grasp on the services part of it, and in because free business, where I am doing mentoring and consulting, like, I am still working with people one-on-one, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a leg to stand on. I made sure of that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Because I feel like
What
what happens is a lot of people just move into, like, I'm gonna talk about the thing, and they never do the thing anymore, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, the market has really changed since you did this in 2012."
Yes. Yes. And that is what, like, the amount of clients that I work with inside of my containers that are saying the marketing efforts and the energy that they're spending into getting eyeballs on their business or their brand or whatever, A, isn't working and is super time consuming. And I'm like, yes, because that strategy is literally meant for someone who is then selling a $47 offer or a low
Yes.
price membership or a $300 group container or whatever. And the amount of conversations I'm seeing on threads of people who are like, I don't understand how or like why so many business owners are sending me down to either book a call or fill an inquiry form or do whatever. I just want to buy your thing. And I'm like, services doesn't work like that. Like, this is not how this works.
Yes,
What do you
and
have to
this
say about
is one of the hills I will die on is people in the online world. This is such a pet peeve of mine, Emily.
that?
People in the online world are so used to buying things on sales pages
Yeah.
that they
Yes.
don't understand that a lot of services, guess what? You actually need to send a proposal because there's phases and it's nuanced. Like if you're working with even a mid-sized business or a small local business or a nonprofit, they need to be able to take something you've given them, take it up the chain,
Yep.
get all the decision makers involved. They're not just going to enter their credit card on your page and be like, here's $10,000 for my website.
Yep.
That's not how it works. And I have fought with so many people over the years about this. And I'm like, yeah, you only know how to sell to like a very specific type of business, and not every business operates that way.
Right. Well, and I know you're tapped into this, the corporate circle. I have been tapping into a higher level consultant, TEDx speakers, authors, people who do consulting for
Yeah.
Fortune 100 companies are hiring me for their back end. There is a world outside of the online business world. Like, you don't
Yes.
have to sell to them and only them. I think that we get inundated into these online circles where we're hearing the same rhetoric over, and then you're hearing posts like, why don't you just send me to a checkout page? And so you try that for your $10,000 container and it isn't working because it isn't the same environment. And
Exactly.
I remember, like, when I left my previous company and I drastically downsized, I'm a solopreneur again, I'm out on my own. My like core mission was immediately, okay, not only am I working done with you and done for you, and it's one-on-one and it's high level advisory, my ideal client is making a certain amount of money
Yeah.
because this whole like the budget conversation, I don't want to have it anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sit here and feel like I'm having to not just be nickel and dimed, but also like literally hear from people that that's too expensive when I have someone dropping 17K like that because of the service that I'm doing for them. It is a different world. It's a different environment. And I bet you can speak on this, but corporate and high level consulting they have a much different relationship with their money and their budget than smaller business owners. Are you seeing that to be
Yeah,
true?
because if you're a high level consultant who works with Fortune 500s or Fortune 100s, like you understand how corporate money flows. So paying you $20,000, they look at that in the totality of what they're getting and they're like, great, done.
Great.
It's the same thing with corporate. They're like, oh, you and your agency are replacing a headcount? Great. Here's your
Great.
$200,000 a year budget.
Yep. Yep. Well,
And we're so used in online to it being like these amounts that they're not insignificant. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being particular about how you spend your money, but
for
this is
sure.
why I don't work with brand new business owners because
Yeah.
I don't want to have to like be lined up against a celebrity coach because they're
Yeah.
going to be like, but they're promising. I'm like, yeah, that's great. I'll see you in 3 years when you've been burned.
Yes. Well, and there was that thread, I'm sure you saw it recently about and I did a whole ranty podcast episode about this of the someone posted, "Where are the done for you service providers at? I'm wanting to hire someone to just do something for me." And the amount of battling between coaches and service providers that happened in that thread and the we both can still exist and you can hire both of us and it's just that what is your take on that conversation? Because I feel like I've shared mine a lot on this podcast and
I would like to give myself props for not wading into that conversation because I had feelings, big ones, all in
yep,
capital letters, and I was like, "It's the end of the week, Maggie. You've had a
leave
week.
it alone.
Put your phone away. You don't have to have an opinion on this one." So, here's what I've seen over the years is the celebrity coaching industrial complex, if you will.
Yeah.
The celebrity entrepreneurs, let's just call them. They've
Yes.
done a really good job over the years of all the income claims and big promises and everything else. But the reality is that their clients for years have been choosing. I'm going to work with the big name coach. I don't have any money for my service providers. And what happens is that coach gives them all these things to do that they can't even implement
Yeah.
without people do it. So then a few things happen, right? They're extremely price sensitive. They are trying to barter slash bargain with, very talented service providers. And those service providers are just kind of like middle finger, I'm out of here.
Yep.
And I see so many conversations about like, I want to hire a VA for $15 an hour still. And I'm like, why don't you, can I swear? Can I
What?
swear on this? Why don't
Oh,
you get
100%. This is
no,
explicit.
like, fuck all the way off.
Yes.
You're not no, you're not hiring someone for $15 an hour. What is wrong with you? You're sitting on social media saying you're gonna have a seven-figure business. That is not the way someone behaves.
Yep.
Because I'm just honestly, I'm like, I'm waiting for these people to start talking about the SNAP benefits. And I'm Canadian and I'm still mad about all this. But like, start talking about SNAP benefits. I'm going to be like, how much do you fucking pay your team?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
don't want to hear it from you.
Yes. This was such a huge leadership milestone, ethical stance that I took. So at my previous job, we went from at one point we had a team where we were working with not necessarily all at the same time, but like maybe collectively in a year, 27 different contractors, an SEO person, an FB ads person, a designer, this, whatever, whatever. And then we streamlined that pretty tightly in about 2018, I think, and brought on our first employees. And I said, hands down, like, if we are hiring someone that's called a marketing assistant or an operations manager or a senior designer, we need to be paying them what they would be getting salary wise at an agency, at a
Yeah,
business, at a company, or we have no business doing this. And I
exactly.
think a lot of people don't want to have like grown up business responsibilities, but they want to put the titles in place and like the clout that they feel like comes
Yep.
from that when they literally either can't afford it or are spending so much fucking money on their ads and their marketing spend that they don't have any left over for the doers.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting because at one point, like, I worked behind the scenes for some of these big name businesses. And
Mhm.
I had so many conversations about budgets.
Yeah.
And just like, I was like, "Are you for real? You just paid 100 like, true story. You just paid $100,000 for your mastermind, and you're trying to get me to lower my rates for you?" And my rates, were extraordinarily reasonable for my skills, talent, experience, and the value I was bringing to the business. Like, I'm
Yep.
like, "I am the one making the money here. I'm writing all your sales emails. So,
Yep.
like, please get a grip on reality." And that's where, like, for me, a lot of my disillusionment came from because I saw behind the curtain and I was like, "Oh, I see how this is."
Yep.
And to go to what you said, like, if you can't bring people into your business, whether that be a contractor, whether that be an employee, a part-time employee, it could be your very part-time VA. If you can't compensate them correctly, and like not just a living wage, above a living wage, and
Yep.
treat them with humanity, and more importantly, act like a leader, you should not be hiring because so much of the online business world is the solution to everything, to scaling, to being less stressed, to your capacity is higher, higher, higher. But the reality is so many people are not equipped
Yep.
with the personal skills, the capacity, the time, the energy it takes to manage people. And I
Yep.
always say to the micro agency owners I work with, like, before you hire this person, like, are you going to be able to pour into them what you need to pour into them? Because
Yep.
people have this expectation, like, I'm going to hire someone and everything's going to go perfectly. You and I both know, how long does it take to actually get someone up to speed
Yep.
until they're actually like fully billable, more than covering their salary? It is a long, long time.
Yep.
It is
Yep.
never what you think it's gonna be.
Nope. And the stats on this prove it
Mhm.
where I mean, literally there are studies about this where it takes 90 days for a new team member to even get acquainted into your brand, your system, your philosophy. From my experience hiring great talent, really, really doing a really good job in the application process, the interview process, the paid test project
Yes.
process, all of that portion, I felt like a light switch where it was about 9 months to 12 months, depending
Yep.
on the person, where I was like, oh, you get it now. And like, yes, at 3 months, where I was like, you're going to stick around and you're going to improve. And I can see that. And you're going to be here for a minute. 90 days, truly like clockwork is like, they're either going to stick around or they're going to leave
Yeah.
at 90 days. But it is about that 1 year mark where you're like, oh, you're actually saving me time now, or you're actually bringing in this result now. That's just how this works. Like that is just a human coming into your ecosystem and learning the ins and outs and the nuances of that. That is not it could be a you problem. Like it could be you maybe didn't have your shit together, and even if you have all of that done perfectly, and I was really mindful of that and think that I did it really well. Obviously, I'm sure there's things I could have improved on, but even then, it took 9 months to 12 months to really see that click into place, and a lot of businesses, even the ones listening to this show, do not have the cash runway for that.
Or the capacity, the leadership skills, like, so, I talk to people often, they'll be like, "I think I want an agency." And I'm like, "Okay. So if you wanna start scaling into an agency, let's have the conversation about how your role just changed. Your role,
100%.
you are now the leader.
Yep,
You're now responsible for payroll. You're responsible for new business. Like, you're probably going to do a lot less doing.
yep,
So if you love the doing, let's figure out how to make your solo business work better for you.
and
And
that's what I
maybe we
help them
can,
do.
yeah,
Yes.
because
Yep.
I feel like the solution has always been to hire. And I love now that the conversation is changing over the last few years around, like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I don't need to hire, because I think we've all seen it. A lot of people very publicly scaled and grew and, like, hit amazing numbers and, had all this visibility. But what came out after?
Yep.
It wasn't all shiny. They hated it. It didn't
Mhm.
work. The math, the stress of it all. Like, nobody has infinite capacity to continue to carry that type of thing. Like, I've heard some gnarly stories from some of my business friends, and I'm just like, ooh, playing
Yep.
it a little safer over here has worked well for me.
Yes. Well, and the fact of the matter is that and I've been in both industries, launching even a high-end, high-level premium group done with you experience, which is what I used to offer, um, did really well
Yep.
and still very unpredictable and harder,
Yeah.
different, harder to get leads and interested people. Where one-on-one service work, especially if there is a tangible delivery and tangible result and outcomes and case studies, etc., it's a very simple like if you want a website, I can get you a website. If we vibe, if we work together well, if we, obviously you still have to market and message and network and do all the things, but it is such a lower lift to be able to get a conversion into that. And it's much more in your control. That networking room or group didn't work for you. There's 10,000 other ones to try.
Exactly.
There are so many, corporations that you can tap into. And as consulting, it might take a different skill set than what you currently have. It might take a different room than what you currently have, but it is possible. The marketing game of the group program and the high level mastermind and the whatever, it doesn't sell one-on-one in the same ways. It doesn't scale in that way. And so I have even made the mistake on that side of having a very inflated quarter because of a really successful launch, needing then the team members and the support to help manage and maintain and provide the experience that I wanted to provide,
Yep.
but not being able to replicate those results the very next quarter.
Yeah. And I think that this is the launch model is extraordinarily resource intensive because of,
Yes.
and even running a community, like at a certain number of members, you need more
Yep.
than just you. You cannot be everywhere. You cannot be doing all the things. And I think people want the revenue upside, but they don't necessarily think about like all the expenses related and how
Yep.
like a lot of times you end up becoming way less profitable.
Yes. Yes. I talk about this all the time because of the tech stack, right? Of I
Mhm.
was running a business where it was truly like if someone had visualized the data, I probably would have quit it years before I did because it was truly this like when revenue goes up, expenses go up.
Mhm.
And if they're not at the same rate or like revenue drastically faster and higher than expenses, then you're going to have problems. But the more money you make in businesses like that, the higher plan you need on whatever course platform you're
Yep.
using, whatever email platform you're using, whatever Zapier plan you're using, your customer service goes up because, and this is just proved to me in another like project I'm working on with a friend. It's a very, very low ticket thing. It's very intentional. I understand what I've got myself into again. I know that. And the inbox management that
Mhm.
happens with a $47 offer that does not exist with a $10,000 offer. Like, I do not think you guys understand the mental load that comes with cheaper offers and maintaining cheaper offers. And did you get the right link? And that link is broken. And then the tech stack changes. And then this flow didn't connect. And it is just so complicated behind the scenes where service work, even high end service work, is very simple. and,
I
and
did a
inex
comparison a few years ago on my podcast where I was like, okay, here's all my costs for my agency, like from a tech perspective. Here's all the
Yeah.
costs for BS free business.
Yep.
And guess what? Free business, I think it was like 2.5 times higher
Yep.
because I have to have an LMS. I have to have an email platform. I need that for my agency. I
No,
basically have like a proposal software in Google. Like,
literally. I run my entire consulting firm, which is what is still my biggest revenue generator. We run very similar businesses where we still do corporate consulting and then I have my program, right? Um, the consulting branch of my business, I would say probably $25 a month that it
yeah,
costs me to run. With my website, maybe $35 a month. That's it. Like, that's literally it. It is so streamlined, it's ridiculous. Everything else, luckily, like, I love software, I love tech, I love that, like, that's, like, why this business exists because that creative energy for me has to, like, pour out in some way, and I do feel like I think both of us are similar in the sense that, at least for myself, like, I do feel like an educator at heart, and I love talking about business, and I love strategizing, and if I can present a different option for scaling and for growth and for sustainability, I can't shut up about that. It's why this show exists. And it's
yeah.
why one day I also want to write a book and yap about the things of service business. But it's just a different beast and it's a different game. But I think that both you and I have made those expectations realistic where new people coming into it aren't.
Yeah, and I think the really interesting thing we're going to see in the next little while is just because of economic instability, we're going to see a lot of people entering the market out of corporate with
Yep.
expectations that like
Yep.
that skill set ports over. And like anytime I've had someone who's bless them, lovely humans, but like straight out of a corporate or, organizational environment, they don't recognize that now they are everything and they don't necessarily have the connections, the resources, even the resilience to build the business as expected. And like
Yep.
those first few years are going to think like all the madness of 2020, 2021, when everything was like we're in the bad place now,
Yep. Yep.
right? And
Yep.
everyone is going to have to prepare, whether they're new or not, to be a little scrappier. And I feel like we've seen this correction in the market, but also recognizing like everything, you were saying, like about the $47 product, like, that's not actually sustainable for a lot of people to have that type of business because guess what? You can't log out on Friday and have no one
Right.
check the inbox all weekend. They're gonna
Right.
be, like, literally on your ads going, "You're a scammer."
Yep. I couldn't get access. The link was broken. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
but go on about your passive income, people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing
A
passive.
and how did you get people to actually buy it? I talk about this all the time of how it's the more passive your delivery, the more active your marketing and your maintenance of that thing is. The more active your delivery, the less active your marketing has to be. Do I have to actively get clients for my consulting? Absolutely.
Yes,
Sometimes it's as little as emailing my unicorn of a client and saying, "Hey, can you refer me to someone?" And that's as active as it gets. And I hop on a call and we convert and we move about our business. And it's just completely different energy than 7 carousels and a reel hoping to go viral and content and threads and all of the places.
and the reality is the best service providers, the most talented, experienced ones I work with over the years, and there's been many, they don't wanna be a creator. They don't wanna be a podcaster. They don't wanna be a YouTuber. They wanna sit down and do really great creative work or
Yep,
consulting work, and I think this is where people don't recognize is, like, you have to decide what you really want the job to be in the business. Do you
exactly.
wanna be a marketer and creator, or do you wanna be a service provider? Because you might
Yep,
do a little of the other one, but you're gonna have a primary role. Like, in
for sure.
BS3 business, like, yes, I am working with my clients, but I'm also like, there's a lot of marketing that goes on, multiple
Yes,
podcasts, newsletters, like and I'm a marketer by career. So like that's easier for me. But most of the service providers I work with have
or
no interest in marketing. They
yep,
would rather send the one quiet email to get the three awesome referrals and be booked up for the next six
yep.
months.
Well, and that's what I harp on and remind my students all the time where I'm like, "Okay, when you're in my program, do not pay attention to how I marketed to you to get into this program.
Yes,
That is not for you. That is not something you need to understand. You see me on threads, you see me emailing you every single day for 14 days. That is not a strategy that you need to implement. We will
exactly.
talk about marketing for consulting and for one-on-one service clients in this container, but it is a very like do as I say over here, not over here.
Yes,
And I like doing this work. And I've openly talked about that where I love creating content and I love marketing. I love the game of business as well. And I think you
yes,
do too. And I love trying new things and learning things. It also doesn't mean that I'm not going to be as efficient as possible.
exactly. And I think part of it is I recognize where the limitations lie. Like I'm like, sometimes we're gonna post on Instagram, sometimes we're not, and that's okay,
Exactly.
and, like, because I have other work to do. My
Yes.
job I am not here trying to monetize my social media, like, in the, creator sense, and that's I think I remember saying to a client once at a call, I said, like, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I said, "Calm down, you're not a creator," and she went you could just see the light bulb went on, she was like, "Oh, I don't have to do all this stuff?" I was like, "No,
No,
no." Like,
no.
why do I podcast so much? Because I genuinely love it.
Yep. Same. Same. Yep. I love connecting with other service providers. I love yapping. I love sharing my ranty opinions. Let's be honest. Like,
Exactly. They need to go somewhere, and nobody around here wants to listen to them, so
exactly. I can only tell my husband so many times how much people are pissing me off.
exactly. He's like, "Please go get your podcast mic out and talk to the mic."
Exactly.
Or like,
Well,
"Vox or one of
and
your
then
friends, please."
you took it a step further and wrote a book. So tell me about that. When did your book come out?
It came out in April 2025, so
Okay. Oh, so it's still pretty
yeah,
fresh.
it's a pretty fresh book, baby. So the book is called Staying Solo, and it is your guide to building a simple and sustainable service business, and really, it's bringing together kind of the case for staying solo
Yeah.
and really debunking something. I know you and I had a little have had a little few exchanges and threads about this, but like kind of debunking the, you can't make money if you're solo, but also like the idea that you have to have the team and everything else. So the first 3 chapters, I'm really like building the case for like, why is entrepreneurship so fucking like obsessed with scale and teams and everything
Dude.
else? And then getting into my framework where we're talking about things like your capacity. We're talking about things
Mm.
like how are you going to actually pay yourself more? How are you going to increase your prices? Like all those foundational things in a
Yep.
service business that I mean, I will say, as someone who's more than 20 years into this, they never change and they never go away.
That's
They
what I just said the other day.
they
Yes.
might shift in how you apply them or when
The
you do them.
tactic might shift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but ultimately, like, these are the fundamentals. Like, even looking at things like, how do we plan, not necessarily around a calendar, how do we plan, like, around our actual life?
Yeah.
Like, how do we do things in a way that actually work for our brains? And a lot of the people I work with are very capacity conscious,
Yep.
neurodivergent, disabled,
Yep.
women. Like,
Yep.
there is only so much to go around, and we've talked so much about, like, freedom. Well, guess what? Like, it's not all cute, like, rainbows and lollipops freedom. Like, let's actually talk about, like, how do we put this in the shape you need it for your business? Because so many of
Yep.
the people I work with, they come to me or, like, end up in my DMs or whatever, and they're like, I'm so tired.
Tired.
I feel like I've been trying to jam a star into a round hole my
Yep.
entire business. And I just need a permission slip to, like, actually make this work for me and my brain and my body and my life.
Yep. Yep. Well, and it's why, I think similarly, and maybe this is what my book will be about. When I left my previous company, I had no salary. Like I left it, I have no money, right?
Yeah.
I needed to replace my salary pretty as quickly as I could. And so I like took the summer off. I was actually publishing my first book, but it's a fiction book, and so completely unrelated to business, but it was just like a dream bucket list of mine. And so I finished out that summer of like the promotion for that and the planning for that launch. It launched on my birthday. It was a whole amazing experience. I'm so happy I did it. But then like quite literally it published and I had my party on September 28th and like by October 1st I was like, "All right, where's the client going to come from? Like it's time
Yeah.
to get to business." And so from October until December, but then rolling into January, I had I talk about this on so ultimately my point is I recorded all of this in a private podcast that is available for free. Like right now you can go listen, and it's how I replaced my six-figure salary with contracted client revenue in just 5 months. From 5 conversations, I landed 3 clients, and those 3 clients referred me, referred me, referred me. And by February, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make 6 figures this year. That's cool." And it cost me $8 to run this business. And so that's also cool. And so I recorded that in I think it's like a 7-part series because I'm not saying it's not going to take work, but it is not complicated. I'm not saying that for
That's
some
legit.
of you, it won't be difficult if you're stretching yourself and you're having to get outside of your comfort zone, but it is not rocket science. And so all of those are non gatekept. You can go listen to them because I truly, truly believe like if you have yet to make 6 figures in your service business, don't pay attention to anything else until you do. And like, because it is easy. I don't know. I know some people have a feeling about that, but like it's not that difficult to reach 6 figures or damn near close to it with a one-on-one service business in your first year.
And I feel like, for me, it comes down to it's like, let's not worry about the number, but like, let's not assume that you're capped out. Like, what I see so many service business owners, and whether that number is 50 or 75 or 100 or whatever, they get
Right.
distracted. They're like, oh, I'm going to do this passive income thing. This
Yes.
feels hard. And the second you're having this feels hard, or what am I missing? Let me go over here with shiny object. You just lost your momentum.
Yep.
And so many times with the service business, like I talk about this in the book, the whole idea of a salary, a revenue ceiling.
Yeah.
It happens much later than people realize. The
Yes.
reason most people reach that is because they've lost focus. They're not asking for referrals. They're literally sitting around going, "Who could refer me?" And I'm like, "Why don't you
Yes.
send some emails?" Like,
Yes.
the service business can be simple, but make no mistake, there needs to be some actual, like, work involved.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I
Yes.
feel like that's where people get distracted is they think something else is going to be easier. And I think the reality is running a business requires work. So
Yep.
choose the type of work. Like, are you going to be uncomfortable like you were, Emily, sending the emails, or are you going to do something else? And a
Yep.
lot of what I see with service business owners is they're avoiding doing actual work.
Yes.
Like, and I'm like, how
Ye-
about you go actually,
Yep.
you don't even have to put on hard pants. Go talk to some actual humans.
Yep. The amount of times I hear from people and they say, "Well, you're just going to tell me to tap into my network and I don't know anybody." Okay. then we're not going to work together. Because if that's the energy you're bringing to this conversation, then there's nothing I can do to change your mind. And that phrase, I wish I could ban that phrase from people's mouths. I wish I could like zap them whenever they say it, because it's not true. It's a lie you're telling yourself. And I'm not saying that everyone you know is an ideal client. That is
Yeah.
that is not what any of us are saying. And what I am saying is that I bet you know or know the person who could introduce you to your very first or next client. That is what I'm saying. And it just takes one to open the door to the next, to the
And
next.
I think back to my first 8 years freelancing. It comes back to like 4 or 5 people. Like,
I
I can
love
think of
chasing it back like
one
that.
specific person. I
Yep.
took on one project for an agency. That person referred me to, like, blue chip companies for
Yeah.
years, like
Yes.
big banks, big tech companies. Like, she decided she loved me because I did a great job, and
Yep.
she could not shut up about me. And you know
Yep.
what? That resulted in hundreds of thousands of
Yep.
dollars of work. And it is a bit of a luck, but like, how do you increase your chances instead
Exactly.
of waiting for someone to pick you?
Yep. You put your name in the ring. You put your
Yeah.
name in the hat and you do it. My very, very second client when I came back, who I used to work with, she's been a client of mine. I was a client of hers for years. She's an SEO specialist. I was a client of hers for years. And when I was going back out and it's just me again, her and I were friends. We had developed a friendship over the years and working together. And I literally just voxed her and was just like, hey, I'm on my own again. I'm doing projects like ABC. Like, do you have anything? I didn't even expect her to necessarily hire
Yeah.
me, but knew that she was well connected. And she hired me within like a couple of weeks. And since then, not we no longer work one-on-one together, but she constantly refers me to people. And I think from her work and her referrals, I think at this point it's over 100 grand that she's brought
Yeah.
into my company. It's insane.
And that's like, you have to, like, I hate to say it, you have to have conversations, and like the fundamentals of the service business don't change. And that's why, like, I'm like, this someone's like, are you going to do a second edition of the book? I'm like, maybe I'll have to update some stats, but like, aside from that, no.
It's the
This is
same.
this is the same shit I've been talking about for 10 years, just in book format. Like,
Yep. Yep. 100%. 100%. Um I love that. I feel like maybe 2026 is my write a nonfiction book so I can rant about business stuff. And it's just, here's how you fucking make money from services when you say you don't know anyone. Like,
yeah, there you
the
go.
long
Like,
working title.
maybe it's just called You Do Have a Network.
Yeah, you do have a network. Shut up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Utmost respect and love, right?
exactly. I love you so much. And all right, when we look at 2026, and even though, strategies of business basics, especially for service work, remain the same, tactics might shift based on the market and the tech and all of the things that are revealing themselves very quickly in this market. What are you going to be trying new next year or this year, depending on when this airs? And what's staying the same for you?
I don't think much is going to change for me. I feel like for me, the last 18 months, I've been calling it a bit of a reset. Like, we've just gone through everything. Like, because I saw the market changing, and I was like, all right, we need to get ahead of this. We need to change. And like, so we've done very systematically, like, let's look at everything. Let's trim the fat. Let's
Yeah.
redo systems. So I feel like 2026 for me is going to be a very like, stay the course. Oh, my team will love me to say that. Stay the course year.
They're like, thank God, Maggie.
Yeah, they're probably like, yeah, no, you're gonna cook up 14 more things. But let this 2025 was a big year. We had the book,
Yeah.
there's always lots of new things. So I feel like we're gonna stay the course on a lot of things. And I think for me, it's like taking my own medicine, going back to like,
Yeah.
we just on the Duped podcast, we just released an episode of the trust recession. Well, like, how do I make sure with my business I'm providing the proof that
Yeah.
I'm credible? Like, going back to these, like, all right, let's write some more case studies. Again, not super sexy, but that's what actually works.
Yep. Yep. I think I know that's something we didn't even touch on today, but I saw your thread, like, right before we hopped on recording, and I mentioned that you were referencing something about the same celebrity coaches who literally created the trust recession are
Mhm.
now utilizing trust as such a huge marketing aspect, and I talked about this the other day and it still it still takes us seasoned folks to kind of be reminded about the, like, rose-colored glasses that are so easy to wear, even for me, for everyone listening, when you're scrolling that comparisonitis and seeing how someone else's business is running and what it looks like on the outside. And I was talking to a friend about um, a very quote unquote successful digital provider in the space, low price digital offers. And one of their messages is how little they work because they have a kiddo and they want to,
Mhm.
hang with that kiddo. They only work 1 day a week. That's literally their whole thing. They only work 1 day a week and how much, money that their business brings. And they do have a lot of receipts, screenshots, and screen grabs, which I'm not saying yes, they can be manipulated by like literal Photoshop. Even if that's not what's happening, there is a certain way that you can filter data that shows you what they want you to see. So, like,
Yeah.
please discern that, right? But I was bringing this person up with a friend and I was just like, yeah, it's crazy. Like, they only work 1 day a week, whatever. And this friend was like, I know that person. And that is not true at all. They work literally all of the time. And I
Yes.
was like, dang it, I've been duped again. And like, I wasn't doing anything about it, but I saw the thing. I was like, wow, like that's a person who figured it out. And I'm just like, nope, everyone lies all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to be that person, but I am that person. I literally co-host a podcast for the last 4 plus years called Duped. Like, I
Yeah.
am that person to say, like, people are lying to you on the internet. I hate to say it. And like, it's far, far beyond the fake screenshots. Like, there is so much misleading things. And that's why, as a consumer, you just have to really have that healthy dose of skepticism. And the
Yes.
number of like DMs we get from people, they're literally like, I heard your voice in my head. I didn't buy the thing. And I'm like,
Yes.
excellent. My work here is
Excellent.
done. And you know what? Like, we have received some real heat over the years for this show. Like, it is not well beloved amongst some people. And that's okay because my job is to talk to the consumers. And like,
Yes.
it's funny too how things that, you know, I think it was 2021, we did an entire episode on pricing and we talked about pricing transparency. And like, I remember on Instagram, people were mad. Like, they were like, I can't believe this. Like, there's just like people really got, and now I see almost those same people 4 years later being like, you better put your price on your website. So, like, things are always changing and shifting in this online market. So, like, whatever the tactic du jour was a few years ago, like, no longer are we talking about hustling all the time. It's like we're talking, I work 1 day a week, my soft
Hmm.
life. Guess what?
Hmm.
Some of those soft life people are the hardest hustlers I have ever met in my entire life.
Yep, 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 and are working way more than and, like, truly and so, like, when my friend said it and I, like, stopped to think and of being like, "Okay, here's how much content's being created. Here's how much content is being created by the actual founder of the
Mhm.
company." Like, it's not faceless content.
Yep.
Here's what's being generated and created behind the scenes. Here's how big I know their team isn't. Like, it is pretty small, which
Yeah.
means the founder is going to be more involved. And it just takes, I'm sure you guys talk about this a lot in your show. It just takes like, go like 2 steps deeper than the first layer of belief that they are marketing to you and truly discern for yourself. Could that actually be true? And chances are you're going to say, there's really no way that it is because of these facts. And
Yeah, and if you don't know the facts, like, just approach things with a sense of skepticism because the
yeah,
one thing that, like, psychologists constantly find is that the more whether it's a cult or an MLM or online business or whatever the scam du jour is, the more you think you are not vulnerable, the more vulnerable you actually are. So
boom, boom,
you
boom.
have to be your own best advocate to be like, yeah, I really want to buy this thing at 11:57 before the countdown timer expires, but it's not in my plan and it's not in my budget.
Yep.
And recognize when people are trying to manipulate you past the limits you've established. And that's the biggest thing I see in online business is like, if you just believed in yourself, it's a money mindset issue. Do you know how many times I've been told because I wanted to stay doing services, I was playing small? Get out of here. Like, you are
I
not
am
in my
so
business and
over
you're
that
not in my
phrase.
brain. Oh,
That's what inspired my whole ranty Substack post about, like, A, quit worrying about a $500,000 funnel if you haven't even made 6 figures, and second of all, why do you have to make 500,000? I don't understand. Like, when did 150 or 200 or 250 become a problem? Those are excellent fucking salaries and revenues and all of the thing. I don't understand. Like, what world am I living in that you're poo-pooing making 6 figures? I'm so confused.
and like, this is the thing. Like, I talk about this in the book. Is like, we have this idea because of the way online business has talked about this for so long. Like, 6 figures is nothing.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
average one person business in the US, $46,000 a year. The
yep,
average one person business in the US does never makes more than $86,000 a year. So if you're making more than that, that is a fucking win on
yes,
all accounts. And I think
yes.
these conversations, like, about more and having to, like, can we just, like, take a moment and recognize how much privilege there is involved in all this, and,
Mhm.
like, actually, like, take a moment and be like, "You know what? Maybe this is good and this is enough," and we don't talk about this concept of enough, like, we can't always be growing, and, like, the second for me,
No,
I, like, was like, "You know what? I could grow more, but, I'm not gonna
I'm
make any
good.
more money. I'm
Yep,
gonna be unhappy," and I,
yep.
like, went and got some hobbies. My business
Yes,
and my life got exponentially better, and my clients are always like, "What hobbies are we up to right now?" I'm like,
yes,
"I've got an endless list of things that are going on outside of my business. I don't have to perform them on social media, and I'm very happy." So, like,
yes.
yes, I want the money. Like, my child's almost graduated college, and I am so proud as a business owner that I've been able to fund that. But
Amazing.
I also, like, I don't have to fund that starting in, like, the spring, so maybe I'll take
Right.
my foot off the gas even more because I'm not here to make zillions. I don't really care that much. I wanna go kayaking on a Tuesday.
Yep. This was the conversation that I've been having with my therapist a lot. As a, overachieving
Mhm.
perfectionist business owner person who does like in like humble brag, but like the things that I intentionally try, I'm good at. Like that is just how I'm wired to be. I research a lot. There's a lot of reasons behind that. Hyperfixation is a big part of it.
Yes,
Spoiler alert.
relatable.
Um, and it's 100% the filter of like, just because I can doesn't mean I should is the biggest skill that I've had to practice
Yes,
myself. And for me, I have equated exponential growth with my self worth as a
yes,
business owner and the only thing that I should be aiming for. When in reality, like the bigger and better thing that could serve my nervous system better, my own personal finances better, my family better, my everything better is consistent growth.
yes,
Period. And oftentimes when we're after exponential growth, the consistent growth doesn't happen. It is not consistent because we're trying a new tactic, we're trying a new offer, we're trying a new audience, we're doing all these things to think that, and I'm literally talking about myself. We're doing all these things to think that like this is going to be the thing that's going to push me into that next level. When if we had just focused on this, we can go doot, 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 and like it's just you again, ask yourself what you're actually after, and I don't think a lot of us give consistent, boring growth, sustainability, and growth enough credit for what it can do for
yeah,
us.
and, like, this is what I say to my clients, like, they're like, "I'm bored." I'm like, "Great. A
Great.
boring
Go get a
business."
hobby.
Yeah, the boring business is the goal. It's literally on the homepage of my website for a reason because it's like, just have a business. I call it delightfully boring. Be bored by your business. And that doesn't mean it's boring. It means you're coming in, it's predictable, it's peaceful, it's profitable. You don't have chaos everywhere. You're not putting out
Yep.
fires. Like, because
Yep.
if you're running your business like that constantly, yes, your nervous system is hijacked, but also like you've just replicated the worst corporate job you could
I
have
was just gonna
ever had.
say, you would leave that job if you had
Exactly.
it. So why are you making it for yourself?
Exactly. Like, I rolled in today at 10, did a podcast interview, went and
Yep.
prepped some fruit. Like, I mean, yes, there's some days I do send because usually because I'm hyper focused on something. Like, yes,
Right.
I'm like, I forgot to eat, I forgot to pee, but like,
Yep.
I really try. And I mean, this has been years in the making of trying to make sure that like the business is not the only thing. And I do want to just say too, like, I recognize how much of an advantage I have because I'm so far into this. And
For
also, I
sure.
realize like times are incredibly tough economically, and I'm never going to shame someone for having to hustle to pay the bills. I respect the game, but
Yep.
make that be your choice, not the choice that you are doing because you think that is the way it has to be done. And some celebrity entrepreneur from their 7-figure mansion has told you this is the way it's going to be.
Mhm.
They don't give a shit about you. They
No, they
don't.
don't. Well, and I also think there's a difference in the intentional hustle and the grit that is
Yes.
required when you are getting your legs and your
Yes.
foundation, and then understand the number that you're working toward. And true, the actual number,
Yes.
not your scale goal, not your dream number. You're like, what would make your nervous system start to relax? What is needed to pay the rent and the groceries and the whatever if that's what your business money is going toward? What is the actual number that you need?
Yes.
And as soon as you get that and you can understand the predictability in that, then that's when you do get to kind of shift into a different phase of business. And what most people are doing are not turning off that hustle because they're not at 10K months, they're not at 20K months, they're not at 50K months that are really unrealistic for a lot of businesses, not something that you actually want to maintain and do, and yet that's all that you're working toward and mad at yourself for not reaching.
And I think that that's it's the salary goal. I think that is like forget. I would say to my clients, forget the revenue goal. Like just throw
Yep.
that away for a minute. Let's talk nuts and bolts. What do you need to be bringing into your
Yep.
life?
Mhm.
And like, and I have a little tool I've created for them, which I can share a link to it. Your if anyone
Mhm.
wants to check that out. But like literally, I want you to put in that goal. Now let's figure it out month by month and what are your
Yep.
expenses? And let's reverse that to what you need your revenue to be. Because
Yep.
too many service business owners, and like this is a hill I will die on, too many business owners, period. They are not paying themselves nearly enough for the amount of work and, you know, grit and
Yep.
experience that goes into the business because they're too busy paying all these other people for all these things when there's no actual value in them.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you don't need all these extra things. Like, yes, get support, get consulting where you need it, but like, you don't need 7 coaches because you can't trust yourself.
And that has been the lesson I've even been working on this year. I think all of us, like, go through this at different phases of business, and leaving a partnership after being in one for 8.5 years was a huge mindfuck for me.
Oh, yeah.
And and you had a partnership as well. I'm sure that impacted you in unique ways. And it was very much one of those like, what can I trust myself to make decisions on now that it is just me? And there was
Yeah.
definitely a season of overspending and support because I didn't trust myself. And I thought that the answer laid outside of me. And I wasn't remembering that I had 13, 14 years of experience under my belt. And you best believe I remember that now.
Yeah, like, this year, I have invested in help, like, support, like,
Yeah.
like, a consulting here and there, and, like, I haven't had that in years, and I'm just like, and it's very I needed, like, literally years of detoxing from all the
Yep.
bad advice I'd been given, and now I, like, trust myself and, like, it's a collaboration with those people, and you know
Yes.
what the key is? I'm not just hiring a general coach. I am hiring people with very specific consulting things to
Yep.
say, "Hey, this is how we're gonna work on the membership together. Hey, you wanna launch YouTube? This is how we're gonna do this." Really
Yep.
focusing on people with very specific skill sets, and I feel like so many people are just like, don't trust themselves. They join this, do that. It's like, if your coaching and membership and program expenses are eating up a lot of your salary, you're never going to be happy. And yes, you do need to invest in the business, but like we have normalized over investing to such a degree that it is, oh, I
It's
cannot stand. People are like, I'm paying myself $1,000 a month. I'm like, what? You're having $10,000 a month. Where's all that money?
yeah.
I want the money
Literally.
in your pocket first.
Yes. Yes. I was talking about this with a friend of mine, when I was actually, like, using our space to talk out a purchase I wanted to make that I was kind of vetting, like, do I do I actually wanna make this purchase, or am I falling into the, like, I think that I need it, I think it's gonna be the solution, et cetera, et cetera. And so her and I were talking about how it is so commonplace in the business industry to drop 2K, 10K, 15K. It's like it's nothing. The amount of money that people will spend in this space that, like, I don't spend that in my personal life on anything, like, at all. And I'm sitting here like, why have I, even for myself, normalized spending that amount, or deciding it right now, and I have to have it right now? And really, again, just discerning the urgency tactics that are at play, both on the sales page and within my own self, of like,
Yes.
what do I think I'm going to be missing out on if I don't implement this right now? And trusting that I've bootstrapped my way to figure out that result before I can do it again. And if and when I want to make that investment at a different time, it will be available to me. And I just trust in that now. And I feel like I'm in the season of completely not spending money on anything because I just have to. I have to kind of go into a detox for my own mental health.
And part of it is like, I feel like so many people are like, a problem. A problem, a solution pops up, and they're like, "Oh, I have that problem." I'm like, "Did you have that problem 2 days ago? Like, did you really
That.
I mean, I still fall for it. I literally do a podcast called Duped, and I fall for it all the time because I'm like, "Ooh," and it's like, I'm having a bad day. I had a conversation with someone I didn't like.
Yep.
I'm all up in my head. I'm ruminating. I'm anxious. And next thing you know, like this is the solution to my problems.
Oh,
And so many of the things in the online business market are solutions that have created problems you don't actually have. And I was like, I
yep.
talk about this all the time on Duped. I'm like, here's what I want you to do. I want you to sit down and go, okay, 2026, what skills do I need? Where do I need support? What problems am I actually struggling with that I need support solving?
Yep. 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 I love that. If you guys haven't made that list for yourself for this year, for 2026, do that, because I'm going to do that. I think that that's brilliant, and really planning out what you actually want to achieve this year, not just like results that you want in your business, but the results. And then what do you already know that you need to do to get that? And
Yes.
what is missing, if anything? And sometimes what's missing is actual human support. And that's the thing that, like, I'm pissed off at some of my, investments and decisions, because I now don't have it in my budget for this year to bring on human support that would actually help me, because I overinvested in people and programs. And it's like, okay, I need to like pump the brakes and actually think about this in a different way, because I could be getting a lot better actual support if different decisions had been made.
And this is why support is an entire chapter in the book, because we think about support as, I need to hire a coach, I
Mhm.
need to buy a tool.
I need to
I'm like,
learn
you know what?
something.
Sometimes support is going to be upskilling. Like, I work with a number of designers. They're like, oh, okay, so how am I going to get up to speed on Figma? Or, what
Yeah.
do I need to do with XYZ wireframing tool?
Yep.
Sometimes it's going to be something like that. Sometimes it's going to be a community where you just want to be seen, and like it doesn't have, you just want those connections. And you know what? The unsung hero over here is support in your personal life.
Yes.
Take that money, pay it to yourself, and then
Yes.
make your life easier. And I know
Yep.
everyone talks flippantly about my house cleaner and my nanny. I'm not talking about that. I'm like, maybe you really have repetitive strain injuries from sitting at your desk too much. So you need a massage every 2 weeks. Maybe you need
Yep.
to go to physiotherapy. Maybe you need more therapy because you don't trust yourself.
Yep.
There's so many things. For me, it's, I need to make sure I have a certain amount of cut up vegetables because I am just not going to do it if I am like in a certain state. So understanding for you, like sometimes that money is going to be better for personal support. I had a
Yep.
client who started sending out her laundry because the amount of stress it was stressful to fold it and put it away. So she
Yep.
just started getting it out of the house. And I think it was like
Yep.
$100 a month, but her quality of life improved greatly. And I'm like, that was $100 for your business really well spent
That is
because
way
you're no
more
longer
affordable
ruminating.
than I
Yeah.
anticipated.
She didn't
Like a
have
fruit.
that much, but I think, thinking about getting creative about where you actually need help. Maybe you
Yep.
hate going to Costco and it stresses you out, so you go in the middle of the day. Maybe you're gonna pay that extra $50 to get it delivered.
Yep. You know, the thing that I wanna pay for next year, literally, it's at the top of my list thinking about this. Even if it's a neighbor kid, I don't care. I want to pay someone in the heat of summer to water my plants outside. I hate doing it. I want a sprinkler system, but, like, our yard is not conducive to that, and they're fucking expensive, and it's in the heat of summer, my yard has to be watered twice a day, and I
It's a
don't
lot.
wanna do it. We have a lot of wildflowers, a lot of plants, and that I deeply care for, and part of my neurospiciness is sitting in the house being like, "I don't want those things to die, and I don't wanna go out and water them." And they
And
just fight against each other all
and I
summer.
guarantee there is a 17-year-old, like there is in our neighborhood, who like the 17-year-old in my neighborhood, perfect service business, has been doing lawns and flowers since he was 9. And you know what? Does a better job on the lawn than anyone in his
Yes.
house has ever done it. And I'm just like supporting a local business. And I realize it's a luxury and I'm so happy we can afford it. But like,
Yep.
if it means things are not dying in the yard, not a bad thing.
Exactly, exactly. I love that. Great ideas for mapping out 2026. Okay, thank you so much, Maggie. This has been incredible. I love yapping with someone else who, like, has as much to bitch and complain about this
So
industry,
many
but also, like,
opinions.
actionable and, like, do this instead. Please remind our listeners the name of your book, where they can snag it, and where they can hang out with you online.
Okay. So the name of my book is Staying Solo, Your Guide to a Simple and Sustainable Service Business. So if you are running a service business, great place to start. And it's meant to be a guidebook. So flip around, like you don't have to read it all in order. And I, put all the sticky notes and write in it and all those things. And it is everywhere books are sold. You don't have to buy it over in the bad place with Mr. Bezos. Um, and it's available in ebook and print. There's no audio because I don't have the focus for that.
It's and
And
that's
then I have,
expensive too.
yeah, I do not need no one needs an audiobook. Getting a podcast out sometimes is enough. And then I have
Exactly.
2 podcasts, Staying Solo, which is everywhere you find podcasts, as well as Duped, The Dark Side of Online Business. And I hang out over on Threads and, Instagram. Oh, in the calculator kit, you'll find the reverse salary calculator, and I talk about it too in the book, which is at bsfreebusiness.com/kit.
Perfect. All of those links will be directly in the show notes, you guys. So if you want to reference those, just head to soldoutservices.com/podcast, find this episode, and all those links are going to be there. Maggie, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciated getting to chat with you and talk about my love-hate relationship of this industry that is just I could never leave, even if
I
even if
know.
all the complaints
Got
I
me in a
have.
chokehold.
Right. Well, thank you so much. This has been so great.
Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sell the Damn Service. I'm really honored that you spent however many minutes you just did with me. Now, if you could go do me a very quick favor and be sure to like, subscribe, leave a rating and a review for this podcast over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or, pick your favorite platform. I'm not going to be that choosy. It truly means the world to me. It's how little tiny shows that are like mine, that are self-funded and, being edited in between dinner time and school pickup, it helps us get seen. It's free for you to do and takes just a couple of minutes. And I would love you forever if I could send you an edible arrangement as a big thank you. I would. So instead, consider this giant thank you directed just at you for going to do that. And share this episode or this podcast with a friend who needs to hear it. I love ranting and raving about service-based business strategies. And, I think more people should listen to this show, honestly. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I really, really, really am grateful that you're here, and we will chat very soon.